chased by someone, falling off a cliff, surviving a great disaster, and blessed with a divine weapon. The young man accidentally obtained the Qingping Sword, a divine tool for the head of the Tongtian Sect to testify. As long as the realm is elevated, one's understanding can be permanently enhanced. From then on, any martial arts or swordsmanship became self-taught, and upon hearing it, one could fully comprehend it. No matter how many spells you have, the infinite path I broke it with my own sword. Feilu Novel Network reminds you that this novel and its characters are purely fictional. If there are any similarities, they are purely coincidental and should not be imitated. Chapter 1. Li. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Shoo. A figure, like a shooting star, rushed out from the depths of the dense forest. However, as the figure rushed out of the forest, it seemed to have exhausted all its strength and fell weakly to the ground. Then he rolled around and tried to run forward again. In front of me, the surging river is surging incessantly, with surging waves that are bottomless. At a glance, it spans thousands of meters. Perhaps he only needs to jump into this turbulent river to get rid of the crisis in front of him. However, rushing out of the forest, I had exhausted all my strength and could only weakly collapse to the edge of escape. Escape from the river, within reach. The trees sway, and the cold wind is piercing. A man and two women rushed out from the depths of the dense forest, fanning out and surrounding the young man in groups. Finally resolved. Among the three, a young man had a proud smile on his face. His name is Xiahoming, and he is the descendant of the Red King of the Great Xia Kingdom, with a noble status. He glanced at Li lying on the ground and said coldly, "Li, you are just a bastard born to a maid in Shuelua Mountain Villa. Why should you compete with me, this little prince? As long as you die, I will be the first person at Yicheng University." What the young prince said is absolutely right. Li is indeed ignorant of current affairs. Today's fate is entirely due to his own fault. Besides Xiahoming, a pretty girl was smiling and agreeing with his words. "Young master, it is currently the assessment stage for the competition for admission to Lishan Sword Academy. We should resolve this person as soon as possible to avoid unnecessary complications." Behind the young man, an older man spoke in a deep voice. He was the guard of Xiahoming and also a young powerhouse bestowed with the surname Xiaho in the royal mansion. "Xiaho Jie." Xiahoming snorted nonchalantly and confidently said, "I have already spoken to the assessment supervisor of Lishan Sword Academy. Even if they see it, they will turn a blind eye. Who dares not give Xiahoming face?" His expression was extremely domineering. "Although we have dealt a heavy blow to his meridians, I, Xiahoming, still like to cut down the grass and eradicate the roots. Go, Tiana, kill him." "Yes, little prince." Tiana respectfully responded, then her figure moved, holding a sharp sword, and walked towards Li, whose breath was gradually rising. At this moment, if someone looks up at the starry sky, they will find that there are several stars arranged in a line in the void, shining brightly. With the twinkling of these stars, Li, who was already on the brink of death, suddenly trembled and his eyes suddenly opened. "You bastard, how dare you pretend to be dead?" Tiana saw this scene, and a hint of anger flashed on her beautiful face. The sword in her hand instantly stabbed Li. The sharp sword pierced, and a cold light flashed in Li's eyes. He tightly grasped the hilt and prepared to counterattack. However, the sudden and intense pain spread throughout his body, forcing him to stop fighting back. My meridians. In an instant, he had already discovered that his meridians were broken and his injuries were severe. Seeing the woman drop her sword, Li Yi's eyes sparkled, his tongue pressed against his chin, and a mouthful of blood shot straight at Tiana like an arrow departing from a string. Bang! Gold iron oscillation. Tiana hurriedly raised her sword to resist, feeling her palms trembling and her hair flying. Her figure couldn't help but take 3 steps back. Li Yi, despite his meridians being cut and his true energy being completely lost, was still able to push back the top 10 elite students of Yicheng University. At this moment, I am still struggling to the brink of death. Xiahou Jie glanced at Li Yi with a murderous intent. I have to admit that this student has surpassed the young prince in fighting spirit. If it weren't for his assistance, the title of the first swordsman of Yicheng College would probably have been none other than him. However, reality is cruel. Xiahou Jie's eyes flashed with a hint of malice, and he said coldly, "Unfortunately, you have offended our young prince. No matter how strong your will to survive is, the ending is only one. Death." With a fierce swing of the refined steel sword in his hand, his true energy surged, and the wind suddenly rose flat, flying sand and stones. "Break it." Ignoring the tearing pain inside his body, Li also let out a low cry. His sword blade instantly sliced through the air like a shooting star, shining brightly in the night sky. Meteor piercing the moon. Bang! The flame splattered and collided head-on with Xiahou Jie's refined steel sword, emitting a deafening sound. How could one still wield such swordsmanship with a broken meridian? Xiahou Jie felt a chill in his heart. The swordsmanship power demonstrated by Li Yi just now is no less powerful than the full-force strike of the Qi refining double strong. In terms of swordsmanship comprehension, Li Yi is undoubtedly a first-class genius. However, he did not realize that Li Yi was no longer the former Li Yi. The legendary swordsman from Blue Star, Yi Wuxin, now occupies his body. In the era of the Blue Star, refining and transforming Qi was already the ultimate goal, and Yi Wuxin, in pursuit of a higher Tao, spared no expense to unleash his potential and forcefully challenge the realm of refining Qi and transforming God. He utilized the celestial phenomenon of 9 stars in a row, integrating the primordial spirit into the fluctuations of star power, crossing the endless sea of stars, and descending into this world. However, he did not expect that, as the power of the primordial spirit was about to run out, although he found a body that matched his soul, it had suffered heavy damage, with its meridians broken and its life in danger. His primordial spirit has gone through hardships among the stars and has almost dissipated. If he encounters misfortune again, he will completely disappear and his soul will be shattered. Therefore, he must not die. He went through countless hardships and finally crossed the sea of stars to come to this world full of vitality and practitioners. The path of cultivation has opened up to him, and he must not fall here. Li Yi. At this moment, I am Li Yi. In a fierce battle, Li also had a clear understanding of the current situation. Ignoring the pain of meridian rupture on his body, he quickly withdrew and retreated. Li Yi. Xiahou Ming looked at Li Yi, who was still struggling, and couldn't help but feel a hint of fear in his heart. Realizing that he was not as good as this young man, he became even more violent, with a fierce glint in his eyes. "Stop him. Xiahou Jie, stop him for me. I want him to kneel in front of me and beg for mercy, and then personally dismember him into countless pieces." Qingming outing and happy reading. Charge 100 and get 500 VIP coupons. Immediate recharge, activity period. April 4th to April 6th. Chapter 2. Escape. You are listening at Novel Full.Audio. Phoenix Dance 9 Heavens. Xiahou Jie's eyes flickered with murderous intent, his long sword in hand, and he swung it out in an instant. Countless sword shadows intertwined into a sky, completely enveloping Li Yi's figure. Meteor outside the sky. Li Yi let out a long roar, and his long sword pierced through the night sky. Each sword was like a brilliant starlight, beautiful and deadly. Bang! 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 With a series of sounds, Xiahou Jie's Phoenix Dance 9 Heavens collapsed instantly under Li Yi's continuous attacks. In just half a breath, Li also swung 12 swords in a row, completely disrupting the opponent's attack. Xiahou Ming, you are the first person I have ever recorded in this world. Stimulating potential in extreme conditions, Li Yi's mouth was filled with blood, but his body retreated towards the Yangtze River behind him at an astonishing speed. His heart was filled with coldness. Xiahou. On his first day in this world, he was forced to such an extent by this person. Sweetheart, stop him. Xiahou roared angrily. He is the son of the Grand Red King, and now he can't even kill a small student from Yicheng University. If this matter is spread, where will the face of this young prince be? How shameless is he to go to the royal capital of Zijin City. Li Yi, sweet and delicate, let out a shout, raising her sword and crossbar. However, at this moment, Li also sought survival from death, and his full potential was fully unleashed. Even if the meridians are broken, how can an elite student at Yicheng University stop them? Death. A sword light, like a cold moon and cold star, instantly cuts through the void. Bang! The blade of the sword swept over Tianer's fair jade neck, instantly leading her head towards the void. Blood splatters into the sky. Immediately after, Li Yi's figure fell into the river like a broken kite, and in the blink of an eye, disappeared without a trace with the rolling river flow. Damn it! Li Yi! You can't escape. Xiahou angry roar echoed in the distance, but Li could no longer hear it. Gollum! Li Yi was trapped in the surging river, with waves rolling and undercurrents surging, instantly engulfing him at the bottom of the river. At the bottom of the dark river, the boundary between heaven and earth is blurred. Even if one tries to move upstream and wants to surface, they still face enormous difficulties. If Li Yi had fallen into the river under such severe injuries in the past, he would probably have already died in the underworld. However, at this moment, his mind was firm and his strength surged within. The combination of spirit and qi resonates with essence and spirit, and the heart beats vigorously, pushing blood to circulate throughout the body. For a moment, his once cold body became as hot as fire. Drink! Li also let out a loud shout, even deep at the bottom of the river, it was enough to temporarily shatter the surrounding river water. The turbid sewage and blood inside the body sprayed out like an arrow in this explosive drink, unexpectedly piercing through a half-meter-long swordfish 3 meters away. After draining the sewage and blood stasis from his body, Li also tightly closed his mouth and fully operated his 7 orifices, blocking the backflow of river water. At the same time, his body felt the trajectory of the dark vortex and slowly floated up. It was a long time before he resurfaced. The vast Yuanjiang River and abundant aquatic products in Yicheng are the source of this river. When Li Yi surfaced, he was already on the other end of the river. Even if Xiahou and others wanted to exterminate them completely, they were powerless to face each other across the river. After landing, Li did not return to Yicheng College, but went to his own residence. Although Xiahou is arrogant and domineering, in Yicheng, he cannot cover up the sky with one hand, at least he dare not attack him in front of everyone. The injury is extremely serious, with every inch of the meridians broken. If you want to practice again and heal the meridians, you need to purchase precious intermittent spiritual pills. Li also felt the condition of his body. His meridians were completely shattered by the power of Xiahou Jia, making it impossible for him to carry true qi, which almost put an end to his path of cultivation. Therefore, the top priority is to recover from the injury. He has already sent the message back to Shuelua Mountain Villa, but he doesn't hold much hope in his heart. Shuelua Mountain Villa may not be willing to come up with valuable intermittent spiritual pills to treat him. Intermittent spiritual pills are hard to find, and Li Yi knows in his heart how difficult it is to raise 1,000 coins. But he, Yi Wuxin, and Li Yi at this moment, pushed open the door to the true meaning in order to seek the path of cultivation. He crossed the sea of stars, crossed the sky from the blue star of the end of the Dharma era, and descended into this world. This process is a near death. The road is without a trace, unable to stop him from hiding his sword and gathering his sword, the end of heaven and earth cannot make him stop on foot, the vast sea of stars could not stop him from seeking truth and asking. What does the injury in front of him count as? The intermittent spiritual pill is worth 1,000 gold, but as long as it can restart the door of cultivation, even if half of his life is wasted, he will have no regrets in his heart. My original cultivation was the triple peak of practicing qi. I went to the Swordsman Guild to teach and earn 10 gold coins per month without hesitation. But now, my meridians are broken every inch, and even with exquisite swordsmanship, in this world where true qi is the key to success, I'm afraid no swordsmanship club will be willing to recruit me. Li also pondered for a while, and in the end, his gaze fell on mathematics. Qingming outing and happy reading. Charge 100 and get 500 VIP coupons. Immediate recharge, activity period. April 4th to April 6th. Chapter 3. Black Jade Intermittent Cream. You are listening at Novel Full.audio. Li, we must abide by our duty at that time. If there is any misconduct, our lives will be in danger. Outside the elegantly decorated courtyard, a young girl in a bright red dress spoke ill and exuded an imposing aura. Li behind her had a calm expression and remained silent. But he still stood straight. Life is difficult. But this is not a reason for him to bow down. If it weren't for you being the only one in Yicheng who can be called a master of mathematics, I would never have approached you. Women speak ill of each other. For half a month now, Li has gained fame in Yicheng thanks to his talent in mathematics. Although Xiahou Ming wanted to kill Li, he found it difficult to find opportunities due to his seclusion, so he had to find another way to strike him. And he also publicly claimed that Li had launched a surprise attack on him, only to be interrupted by his meridians, which greatly tarnished him. Therefore, as the first swordsman of Yicheng University, he chose to give up swordsmanship and instead focus on studying mathematics. This decision naturally drew criticism and schadenfreude from countless people, and his reputation and popularity plummeted as a result. However, Li also maintained a cold and indifferent attitude towards this. There lives a big shot inside who I can't afford to offend. Be cautious in your words and actions, don't cause trouble for me. The woman solemnly cautioned again. Later, she pushed open the courtyard door and led Li into the courtyard. The small bridge and flowing water in the courtyard, with lush grass and blooming flowers, create a pleasant scenery. On the side surrounded by flowing water, there is a pavilion located under a century-old tree. The sunlight shines through the gaps in the leaves, creating a starry light and shadow, creating a relaxed and elegant atmosphere. Sister Lin, I have already brought the person. The woman stepped into the courtyard and immediately restrained her previous arrogant attitude, with a sweet smile on her face, quickly walking towards the pavilion. In the pavilion, a woman dressed in white, with her hair draped over her shoulders, sat quietly on a sandalwood chair covered in mink fur, lost in thought. Although she wore a white veil due to external reasons, the agility and detachment revealed in her starry eyes were enough to make anyone feel inferior. She is a woman with a fairy-like temperament. You, thank you. The woman in white stood up and whispered, then nodded slightly to Li, thank you. Li also nodded to her, took a step forward, and prepared to enter the pavilion. Self-proclaimed name taboo. There is a huge difference in their social status, and there is not much difference in whether they know or not. Stop. As Li was about to step onto the steps of the pavilion, a clear and firm voice sounded behind him. This voice comes from a female swordsman dressed in heroic attire and wearing a Qingping Sword at her waist. Her eyes were blazing as she locked onto Li. Hand over all sharp and iron tools. However, the woman in white waved her hand, indicating that they did not need to be too nervous. She looked at Li and whispered, I see that this young master doesn't have any real energy fluctuations on his body, obviously he's not a practitioner. Hee, Sister Lin really has a good eye. The girl in the red dress couldn't help but chuckle when she heard these words. The woman in white shook her head gently, laid the golden silk scroll flat on the stone table, and then made an invitation gesture to Li, gesturing for him to approach and watch. The 4 characters, 9 palace arithmetic, are prominently displayed on the scroll. Li Yi's gaze quickly swept over the picture scroll, his heart filled with surprise. He never expected that in this world, there would also be the existence of the 9 palace arithmetic. Do you know the method to crack this picture? The woman in white asked softly. Li also nodded. 24 represents the shoulders, 68 represents the feet, 37 represents the waist, and the middle and 5th represent the abdomen. Wear 9 shoes and 1. Upon hearing Li Yi's answer, the woman in white moved her heart and quickly filled in the corresponding numbers on the picture scroll. The 9 palace arithmetic can be in odd or even forms such as 3 rows and 3 columns, 5 rows and 5 columns, etc. The 9 palace arithmetic shown in this figure is one of the basic algorithms of 3 rows and 3 columns. Li also explained. It's really feasible. A glimmer of admiration flashed in the eyes of the woman in white. Very good, Li Yi. Your task has been completed. Go to the butler to collect the reward and withdraw it. Li didn't say much and silently left the courtyard. Li Yi. The woman in white seemed to notice something in this name, and after a moment of contemplation, she said, I seem to have heard of this name somewhere. Li Yi, formerly the first swordsman of Yicheng College, was discovered by his competitors during the competition for admission to Lishan Sword Academy. As a result, his meridians were broken and his cultivation was completely lost due to poisoning. Poisoning opponents. Since he is the first swordsman of Yicheng University, the admission quota should be readily available. Why do you do this despicable thing? The woman in white asked in confusion. Because his competitor Xiahou Ming was also promoted to the peak of the 3rd level of qi refining, and their cultivation levels were similar, he had no chance of complete victory. The woman in the red dress pursed her lips and looked at Li Yi with disdain in her eyes. Li Yi, this person has clear eyes and must be a person with a firm heart. Moreover, he is already the most accomplished swordsman at Yicheng University. I do not believe that he has been accused of poisoning. The woman in white watched as Li Yi retreated to the courtyard door and whispered to the maid beside her, give him a bottle of black jade intermittent cream. Black jade intermittent cream. Ning Kuer was immediately shocked and said, Miss, black jade intermittent cream is a rare treasure in the world, even in the sect. The woman in white interrupted her and said, go ahead. Seeing the young lady so determined, Ning Kuer had to nod in agreement. Catching up with Li Yi who was about to leave, he handed him a delicate jade bottle and said, this is black jade intermittent cream, which has a magical therapeutic effect on meridian damage. It was gifted to you by my young lady. Black jade intermittent cream. For Li Yi, he was seriously injured and, in order to restore his meridians, he spared no effort to inquire everywhere in search of a spiritual medicine that could cure the injury. This black jade intermittent cream is the best choice. Thank you quickly. The words of the woman in the red dress interrupted Li Yi's contemplation, with a hint of jealousy in her words, but he did not pay attention. Li also walked forward and took the bottle of ointment from the woman in the red dress. At the moment he took the ointment, his body involuntarily trembled slightly. He took a deep breath and his expression became solemn. He turned around and bowed deeply to the woman in white in the courtyard pavilion. Today's kindness will be remembered by Li Yiming, and will be repaid in the future. Puff. Li Yi's words made the woman in the red dress couldn't help but sneer, causing her to tremble with laughter. She mocked and said, with you alone, I believe you will also receive something in return. Even the woman in white in the pavilion gave a gentle smile and politely refused, no need. The two are obviously not in the same world, and perhaps from now on, their life trajectories will no longer intersect. Qingming outing and happy reading. Charge 100 and get 500 VIP coupons. Immediate recharge, activity period. April 4th to April 6th. Chapter 4. Chen Shishi's Poems. You are listening at Novel Full.Audio. Li did not repeat his promise, but took a deep look at the woman in white. Although her veil covered her face and did not reveal her true face, her starry eyes had deeply imprinted in his heart. Step back, you have obtained the black jade intermittent cream. You should practice well, uphold the justice in your heart, and not disappoint Mrs. expectations. The maid Wei Ninkir seemed to have not taken Li Yi's words to heart. I will. Li also bent down again to bow. Subsequently, he straightened his spine, and his not burly shoulders seemed to hold up a vast expanse of space at this moment. He walked out of the courtyard with his head held high. This scene fell into Ning Ker's eyes, which couldn't help but make her slightly stunned. The backbone of a man should be so towering and steadfast. Li Yi. After reciting the name lightly, she shook her head and quickly forgot about it. Black jade intermittent cream. He did not receive the reward of 10 gold coins. Li also walked out of the courtyard and took a deep breath. Finally, he obtained a miraculous medicine that could repair damage to his meridians. Moreover, it is the most effective black jade intermittent cream. For the past half-month, he has been helping people solve math problems and doing his best to accumulate wealth, but his income is only 8 gold coins and a few silver coins. It takes at least 10 years to gather all the money to purchase the intermittent spiritual pill. 10 years, my heart has no regrets. He firmly believes that the true path will never be cut off, so he is not afraid of any difficulties or obstacles. Now, he has received the black jade intermittent cream gifted by the woman in white, which has earned him precious 10 years in the battle of the Great Road. Life is short, he must repay this favor. Yicheng College. In the single-room dormitory of senior students, the door was suddenly pushed open. In front of Li Yi was a tall young woman with a ponytail. She was dressed in a swordsman's uniform and exuded a heroic demeanor. There are 3 famous colleges in Yicheng. Yicheng College, Oriental College, and Lanxiang College. Among them, Chen Shishi is known as the first swordsman of the Oriental Academy for his outstanding swordsmanship. A friend in need is a friend indeed. Back then, Li Yi was the first swordsman of Yicheng University, surrounded by many friends. However, only Chen Shishi can truly share his hardships with him. Senior Li, the most important thing for you now is to recover from your injury, Chen Shishi said with concern. Thank you. His gaze fell on the food box held in Chen Shishi's hand, and he smiled lightly. Upon seeing this, Chen Shishi understood that Li also had his own weight. He immediately opened the food box, which contained fragrant blood beef and sprinkled a small amount of forging powder. Blood beef and forging powder. Li Yimo counted for a moment, then took out a gold coin from his body and handed it to Chen Shishi. Chen Shishi shook her head gently, her voice revealing firmness. You can accept this heartfelt gesture. I am well aware that you have put in a lot of effort to accumulate wealth in order to treat meridian injuries. These foods, although meager, represent my sincerity. I look forward to seeing the invincible senior at Yicheng University again someday. Li also shook his head and handed the gold coin to Chen Shishi again. Do you believe me? Chen Shishi reluctantly took the gold coin and a hint of determination flashed in her eyes. Of course, the person I admire by Chen Shishi would never have done such a despicable thing as poisoning in the college entrance examination. Li also looked deeply at Chen Shishi, with countless thoughts in his heart. Is there any news from Shuelua Villa? Intermittent spiritual pills are extremely precious, hard to find, and I, Li, am not worth this price. It's really real. Chen Shishi shook her head gently, with a hint of regret in her tone. For half a year, I have always regarded catching up with and surpassing you as my goal of cultivation, but now. The admission notice for Chongqing College has been issued, and in 6 days, I will go to the capital city of Zijin to further my studies. Congratulations. I finally caught up with your cultivation level, but I haven't had a good fight with you. How can such a parting make me feel happy? Chen Shishi's words reveal deep regret. Li also recalled Chen Shishi's care over the past month, and a warm current surged in his heart. This friendship is deeply ingrained in his heart. There are still 6 days left. Who can predict what will happen during these 6 days? Your swordsmanship is extremely profound. Even when facing beginners who have just completed practicing Qi, you can still win in one battle, and those who have achieved 20. For small Zhou Tian cannot compete with you. However, at this moment, I have reached the perfect state of Xiaozhou, but your meridians are damaged and unable to mobilize your true Qi in order to avoid Li Yi's emotional turmoil. Chen Shishi no longer continued with this topic. Hello, rest well. In 6 days, I will come back to bid you farewell. Chen Shishi gazed at Li Yi and saw his expression calm and without any signs of decadence. I sincerely admire his inner resilience. However, when she thought about his current injury, she couldn't help feeling regretful in her heart. Going to the capital, it's probably difficult for us to see each other again. The Great River swordsmanship is truly remarkable. Chen Shishi silently sighed in her heart, then shook her head and turned to leave. Black Jade Intermittent Cream. Li also watched Chen Shishi's departure and gently locked the door. He cooked hot water, prepared everything, and then poured out the spiritual pill from his hand. The fragrance of Lingdan fills the nose, making one feel refreshed and happy. Li also swallowed it without hesitation, and the spiritual pill instantly turned into a clear stream, pouring into his body. This force is like a spring breeze turning into rain, moistening everything silently. The originally dull and painful meridians become cool under the nourishment of spiritual pills. Without the need for concentration and induction, Li can also feel that the condition of his meridians is rapidly improving. Blood beef, forged body powder. Not long after swallowing the intermittent spiritual pill, Li also turned to the food brought to him by Chen Shishi. He took out each one and savored it carefully. Beef itself has a nourishing effect, and with the assistance of body powder, Li also felt a surge of heat emanating from his body as his stomach moved. Without hesitation, Li Yi leaned his tongue against his chin and stood in a peculiar posture. A buzzing sound sounded, as if thunder was roaring inside him. Thunder sound body refining technique. This is an extremely advanced body refining method. It has extremely high requirements for the mind and spirit, as it strengthens the body and condenses qi and blood by stimulating rapid cell division. Once operated improperly, it may lead to physical collapse or even complete paralysis. Li has already mastered this technique of body refining, but due to his fragile body after rebirth, he has always been cautious and dare not try it easily. Now, he has taken black jade intermittent cream, blood beef, and forging powder, and his body is full of medicinal power. He believes that with the assistance of these drugs, he can bring the Lei Yin refining technique to the extreme. Qingming outing and happy reading. Charge 100 and get 500 VIP coupons. Immediate recharge, activity period. April 4th to April 6th. Chapter 5. Divine Soul Ancient Sword. You are listening at novel.audio. If this continues, the meridian damage that originally took 10.5 days to recover will recover in 3 to 4 days. After an hour of cultivation, Li Yi's body was covered in sweat, and the physical load seemed to have reached its limit. However, he did not give up, but continued to persist until the last trace of medicinal effect in his body was fully integrated into his body, and the peculiar oscillation frequency gradually subsided. With tired steps, Li also struggled towards the prepared bathtub. The bathtub was filled with hot water and herbs, and he sat in it without moving. After an hour of rest, he closed his eyes and began trying to transport true qi. Take a deep breath, and the true qi in your body slowly begins to move. Starting from Xiaodanshan, passing through the perineum and the earth gate, following the spinal meridian, passing through the 3 passes of Feilu, Jiaji, and Yuzhen, and reaching the top of the head mud pill. Subsequently, the true qi flows down in 2 directions, converging at the tip of the tongue, connecting with the Ren meridian, and then returning to the dantian along the center of the chest and abdomen. Throughout the process, the transportation of true qi proceeded quite slowly. Half an hour, only one cycle was completed. This speed is only slightly faster than those beginners who are just beginning to understand true qi. Compared to the practitioners in the early stages of Xiaozhou, they were able to practice 12 Xiaozhou in 1 hour. In contrast, Li Yi's speed was twice as slow. However, despite this, Li is already very satisfied. The two stages of Xia's Hushan and Dazudian correspond to the realm of qi refining, mainly focusing on condensing true qi. Based on an hour as the standard, the first level is based on the 12 small Zhou days of Gongxing, the second level is based on the 20.4 small Zhou days of Gongxing, and the third level is based on the 30.6 small Zhou days of Gongxing. The third level, also known as Xia's Hushan perfection, requires breaking through the Ren and Du meridians, practicing the 12 main meridians and 8 extraordinary meridians, so as to transform the true qi from postnatal to innate, and thus enter the realm of the greater Zhoutian. After 12 weeks of practicing martial arts, it becomes the fourth stage of practicing qi. Li Yi was already able to practice for 36 weeks, which is equivalent to the pinnacle of the triple cultivation of qi. He only needs to break through the Ren and Du meridians and transform the true qi from postnatal to innate, and then he can step into the fourth level of qi refining. At present, he is recultivating. Although his cultivation speed has slowed down due to incomplete recovery of meridians, the effect is still significant under the circulation of the Zhoutian. After half a day of cultivation, he should have rested, but when his meridians were first restored, he couldn't stop for a moment. With a movement of his body, he quickly moved towards the left side. Li Yi, the 60.4 son of Li Chunfeng, the head of Shuelua Mountain Villa, was born to a maid. Li Chunfeng is passionate about reproducing offspring and has 93 children living together. These children were sent by him to various colleges, sects, and aristocratic families for cultivation. Shuelua Mountain Villa has strong financial resources, and Li also has achieved success in Yicheng, with a relatively affluent economy. Although he cannot afford priceless treasures like black jade intermittent cream. But the dormitory he lives in is the most luxurious student dormitory, equipped with a dedicated training room. Meteor. Li Yi's eyes flashed with a hint of brilliance. Immediately after, the sharp sword in his hand turned into a brilliant stream of light, piercing through the sky. Shoo! 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 Continuously thrust 20 swords, gradually trying to reach the limit of physical endurance. Subsequently, he activated his true qi and his swordsmanship underwent an instant change. In the sky, if there is starlight shining, wherever the sword edge reaches, the sword light overflows like a shooting star crossing the void. Li also took a short rest, exhaled a mouthful of turbid air, put away his sword, and stood steadily again. His forehead was slightly covered in a thin layer of sweat, which was due to his weak true energy and excessive consumption in the moment before. Meteor-piercing moon swordsmanship. The difference between true qi and strength is truly a world of difference. In this blue star world of the end of the Dharma era, ordinary people can only refine their essence and blood, and condense their energy path. Although such power can also achieve cutting through the air, breaking wood, and breaking bricks and stones, it pales in comparison to the detached injury of true qi. At Blue Star, Li also relies on his strength to activate his physical strength, and can stab 7 swords in just 1 second. And now, with the increase of true qi, he exerted all his strength and was able to stab 8 swords in just 1 second. Although it was just an additional sword, considering that Li is still in the stage of refining true qi and has not yet reached the level of refining qi, such progress has been quite significant. Over time, when practicing until Xiaozhou Tian is complete and reaches the triple level of qi refining, he will be able to easily stab more than 10 swords in 1 second. Just as Li was satisfied with his swordsmanship, his mind suddenly sank into his divine soul. To be precise, spiritual world. Here, an ancient sword is suspended. Qingping. Seeing this sword full of vicissitudes gave Li a feeling of encountering old friends in a foreign land. "You're here too." The familiar ancient sword reminded him of his adventure at the age of 15 on Blue Star. When he received this sword, it turned into a blue light and lingered in his spiritual world. Whenever he gazes at this sword and carefully contemplates, his brain becomes calm, clear, and thorough. In this state, emotions cannot affect him, he can observe the surrounding environment thoroughly and meticulously, and his thinking runs to the extreme. Once, with this state, he could count the prickles of a cactus in 10 seconds. Although the cost was exhaustion and a day's sleep, he was amazed by this miraculous phenomenon. Staring at the Qingping sword in his hand, Li Sishu was full of thoughts. The name of this sword is Qingping, which reminds him of the divine sword of the sage in ancient mythology, which is used to prove the way to heaven. However, as he explored the truth one by one, the cruel reality told him that Blue Star had entered the end of the legal era. The path of seeking truth has been cut off, and those myths and legends are ultimately just legends that cannot come true. With my current physical condition, is there still room for improvement in meteor-piercing moon sword? Li murmured to himself. Observing the Qingping sword in the divine soul, the surrounding environment seemed to become quiet at this moment, and all the distractions were forgotten by him. In his spiritual world, every sword and form of the meteor moon sword technique is incredibly clear. He saw himself wielding a sword in one hand, instantly unsheathing himself. During his sword practice, his swordsmanship moves and true energy movements followed a completely new trajectory, swiftly stabbing like lightning. True Qi movement. Li also carefully realized that those vague thoughts and speculations were now gushing out like spring water. Shoo! In the next moment, the true Qi was stimulated, and the sharp sword in hand was instantly thrust out. Bang! The sword light slashed through the air, accompanied by a faint burst of air, making one look sideways. After a moment, the sword light dissipated. Li Yi's eyes flickered with a brilliant light. 10 swords in 1 second. The method of transporting true Qi that he came up with through his spiritual worldview broke the limit of 1 second 8 swords and leaped to a new height. This is almost equivalent to crossing 2 realms. Qingming outing and happy reading. Charge 100 and get 500 VIP coupons. Immediate recharge, activity period. April 4th to April 6th. Chapter 6. Snow Eagle Guard. You are listening at Novel Full.Audio. Swordsmanship is infinitely mysterious. Even with the same swordsmanship, the power displayed in different hands and situations is vastly different. I only fine-tuned the flow of true Qi and the trajectory of sword moves, and the power of meteor-piercing moon sword was significantly improved surprisingly, yet within expectations. The changes in meteor moon sword have opened up new ideas for me. This swordsmanship originated from my study on the Blue Star, and it comes from the Tai Shang Sword Classic that I have summarized and is most likely to achieve true enlightenment. The combination of meteor-piercing moon sword and true Qi can double the power. If I can replace my strength with true Qi, refine my bones, meridians, and even refine my organs and blood, once successful, my bones, meridians, and internal organs will become strong and flexible. The amount of true Qi I can hold and the instant explosive power of true Qi will far exceed that of ordinary people. Do whatever comes to mind. Blue Star warriors refine their essence and blood, generate strength, polish their bones, refine their meridians, and reach a high level of cultivation, achieving the goal of refining organs and exchanging blood. Now, Li is also eager to try replacing internal energy with true Qi to see if it is feasible. Li also controlled the thin true Qi in his body to slowly penetrate into his bones. Suddenly, a piercing pain spread throughout the body. No, true Qi is different from strength. Jin Dao originates from the power formed by the ultimate condensation of essence and blood in the body, which nourishes and grows together with bones, meridians, and the 5 organs and 6 viscera. And true qi is gradually accumulated by absorbing the elemental energy between heaven and earth. The essential difference between these two forces also plunged Li into contemplation. The method of cultivation is to refine essence and transform qi, refine qi and transform spirit, and refine spirit and return to emptiness. The source of true qi can be either the elemental energy between heaven and earth, or it can be generated through the refinement of essence and blood. However, in the Blue Star, I have searched countless rivers and mountains, but it is difficult to find the legendary blessed land of Lingshan. The lack of vitality in heaven and earth makes it difficult for the essence of the physical body to blend with the vitality of heaven and earth, and it is impossible to use the power of heaven and earth to refine the body. How can one refine essence and transform qi when there is insufficient blood and essence? Li Yi's eyes flickered with a divine light. The vitality of the Blue Star's heaven and earth has dissipated, making it impossible to refine and transform qi. But this world has. Pop pop. Li Yi's door was knocked on. Opening the door, a man in strong clothing, holding a long sword, and about 30 years old stood outside. Snow Eagle Guard. The man nodded and bowed respectfully, introducing himself. Snow Eagle Guard, Sword Guard, I have seen young Master Li. Snow Falling Villa. Li Yisin has gained some enlightenment. The previous, Li Yi, meridian was damaged and he once sought help from Shuelua Mountain Villa, hoping to obtain the intermittent spiritual pill to repair the meridian. Now that half a month has passed, it seems that the villa has not responded without any response. Without waiting for Li to speak, Jian Shou bluntly said, there are rules in Shuelua Mountain Villa. If children who go out for training have achieved nothing and take their own lives, the villa will not provide any assistance. In addition, due to the damage to Master Li's meridians, his realm has dropped to the level of practicing qi, and his monthly salary will be reduced to the lowest standard in the future, which is 1 gold coin. Li Yi was not surprised after listening. He knew that Li Chunfeng, the head of Shuelua Mountain Villa, had many children. For those who did not have outstanding qualities, Li Chunfeng had always allowed them to live and die on their own. I understand. Li also said. Jian Shou looked at Li Yi with an expressionless expression and said calmly, Miss Li Qing has a huge gap in cultivation resources, with tight funds. At the same time, she is at a critical moment in the competition for the position of Tongtian Sect disciple. Manager Lu believes that it is not appropriate for Miss Li Qing to know about this matter. Young Master Li, do you think so? Li Qing is the elder sister of Li Yi's mother and also a true genius among the younger generation of Shuelua Villa. Li Yining's rise to prominence at Yicheng University is inseparable from Li Qing's careful guidance during his annual gathering. I believe that young Master Li can distinguish right from wrong, and our carrier pigeons in Shuelua Villa will not disturb Miss Li Qing's cultivation over such a small matter. Goodbye. After leaving this sentence, Jian Shou turned around and left. Snow Eagle Guard is one of the external military pillars of Snow Falling Mountain Villa. 800 elite members have all practiced at least 3 levels of qi refining, and their strength cannot be underestimated. The captain, squadron leader, and deputy commander have respectively reached the realm of 4, 5, and 6 levels of refining qi. Their status are not inferior to those young masters and ladies who have achieved nothing, so there is no need to bow down to them. Snow Falling Villa. Li also watched as the figure of Snow Eagle Guard Sword Guard gradually drifted away, and a complex emotion surged in his heart. It is silent. It's sadness. As Chen Shishi said, it is reality. In the blink of an eye, 6 days rushed by. It's time. On the morning of the 6th day, he tidied up his white swordsman robe, held a sharp sword, and went out. Li Yi, once known as the first swordsman of Yicheng University. Whenever he goes out, he always attracts the flattery of many students. However, since half a month ago when his meridians were interrupted due to poisoning Xiahoming and he lost his qualification for further education, those students have looked at him with completely different eyes. Although they did not directly mock, the contempt in their eyes was obvious. Faced with these gazes, Li also looked indifferent, straightened his spine, walked steadfastly, and did not stop for anyone. Just then, a voice came from behind him. Li. Chen Zitian is an elite disciple of Yicheng College. What's up? After hesitating for a moment, Chen Zitian finally spoke up. Xia Homing will go to the capital city of Zijin the day after tomorrow. If you offend him, it may not be peaceful these 2 days. If it is unnecessary, do not go out alone. After listening, Li also nodded at Chen Zitian. Thank you for informing us. After speaking, he turned around and left. Unfortunately. The first swordsman of Yicheng University. Watching Li Yi leave, Chen Zitian's expression was quite regretful. Chen Zitian, do you believe that Li will also secretly attack and poison Xia Homing? A female voice rang in Chen Zitian's ear. In front of everyone's eyes, the evidence is conclusive, and whether the act of Li Yi poisoning is suspicious is no longer the key. The important thing is that the assessment supervisor at Lishan Sword Academy believes that he has poisoned him, which is enough to ruin his path to further education, the mentor of Lishan Sword Academy. The woman behind Chen frowned and couldn't help but imagine the close relationship between Xia Homing and the mentor in her mind. Perhaps whether Li also poisoned is really no longer important. This is reality. Chen is in the heavenly way. The tone was heavy. Qingming outing and happy reading. Charge 100 and get 500 VIP coupons. Immediate recharge, activity period. April 4th to April 6th. Chapter 7. Human Relations. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Oriental College. As one of the 3 major colleges in Yicheng, it is bustling today. When Li also arrived, the college was already bustling with people because today was the day of the graduation ceremony. In this year's Oriental College, a total of 895 people participated in the entrance examination. After competition, only 13 people were successfully admitted. 3 of them stood out and obtained the qualification to enter top colleges. Chen Shishi was one of these 3 people and was admitted to the imperial capital Chongqing Academy. Li also stood in the crowd, his gaze calmly fixed on the 12 students on the high platform of the square, his heart still calm. Admitting a higher education institution in the imperial capital, even an ordinary one, is a promising future for practitioners. Once they can cultivate to the 4 levels of qi refining, practice the great Zhou Tian, and step into the realm of innate nature, no matter where they go, they will be respected by people. For practitioners, joining a force is too important. In this world, once a practitioner reaches the infinite realm, they will open up boundaries within their body, and their size and strength depend on their personal cultivation. The auxiliary effect of the realm on cultivators is immeasurable. It not only helps cultivators become invincible at the same level, but also has the power to kill enemies at higher levels. Some perfect realms can even resonate with the ancient realms, thus obtaining the supreme gift of the ancient realms. Through special secret techniques, practitioners can also connect their respective realms to construct various heavenly realms, achieve spiritual communication, and practice at a speed of thousands of miles per day. For practitioners with the same talent, the kind of influence they can join will determine the vast difference in their future achievements. Higher education institutions. That's the way they join these forces. Being admitted to a higher education institution is enough to make anyone envious, and even make young girls fall in love with it. At this moment in life, it is undoubtedly a crucial step taken. Chen Shishi stood at the forefront of the high platform, like the other 2 companions, gathering countless honors and radiance, which was the focus of attention for all the students. At this moment, she is undoubtedly the most dazzling and popular female student in the Oriental Academy. Overlooking the admiring younger students below, Chen Shishi's heart was filled with pride, but she managed to control this emotion perfectly and showed humility and courtesy. However, as her gaze paused in the crowd and fixed on Li Yi in a certain spot, her gaze couldn't help but freeze slightly. Then, she smiled faintly at him and nodded lightly. This move immediately caught the attention of many students around. Even the man and woman sitting next to Chen Shishi couldn't help but turn their heads. "That's Li Yi from Yicheng College," said the woman next to the man, Yunji, softly. "Li Yi." The man frowned slightly. "I heard he has been studying arithmetic recently and seems to have given up his practice." Yunji nodded and turned to the man, saying, "Lingyun, Li also took a risk to get admission to Lishan Sword Academy before, almost becoming your junior." Lingyun glanced at Li Yi in the crowd and said calmly, "From today on, he belongs to a different world from us. What's the point of talking about this person again? Cold and proud. The pride of Lishan Sword Academy." Ling Yun's words immediately resonated with several other students who were admitted to higher education institutions. Li Yirua is indeed a respected opponent who has not been defeated by Xia Homing's true energy. Unfortunately, now we are a world apart. However, among this group of students a female student cast an appreciative gaze on Li Yi. Despite losing the title of the first swordsman and cutting off the path to further education at Lishan Sword Academy, he was still a prominent figure in Yicheng at that time. Standing there at this moment, still standing out in the crowd, extraordinary. At this moment, a male student interjected with a smile and said, "Yanran, you are now a senior student at Xuanji College and your future achievements are limitless. If you value him, why not invite him to become your subordinate? I believe he will gladly accept it." Wang Yanran's mouth curved slightly, showing a hint of pride. His chin gently lifted and he said, "Well, not everyone deserves to be my guest of honor." For Wang Yanran. "Li Yi, I'm not even worthy. Not suitable. She doesn't like Li Yi now." Chen Shishi listened to their conversation on the side and couldn't help but snort coldly, "It's really ridiculous. Although you guys have been admitted to higher education institutions, how many of you can defeat Li now, even if he doesn't use his true energy?" Chen Shishi's words made Wang Yanran and others look a bit ugly. The male student who teased Yanran immediately retorted, "We are now facing Li, and the outcome is unpredictable. But as long as we enter a higher education institution, the speed of cultivation will be thousands of miles per day, while his meridians are broken and his progress is slow, sooner or later he will be surpassed by us." Zhang Yuan is right. When we step into the third or even fourth level of practicing qi and achieve great martial arts, even if Li Yi's swordsmanship is superb, he will not be the enemy of our sword. Wang Yanran and others followed suit. Who can predict the future? At least for now, you are not Li Yi's opponent. Whenever, the weak can point fingers at the strong. Chen Shishi's words made Ling Yun, who had successfully been admitted to Lishan Sword Academy, chuckle lightly and say, "Yanran, Zhang Yuan, and others may have some differences in strength compared to Li, but their views are correct." Although Ling Yun's tone was calm, it revealed an indescribable sense of superiority. After all, he successfully entered the Lishan Sword Academy, while Li did not. This is enough to qualify him to give guidance to Li Yi. Chen Shishi's junior sister has a close relationship with Li Yi. Is there any idea of taking him in? A true genius will not easily fall down just because of a little setback. After Chen Shishi finished speaking, he felt that different ways were not conspiring with each other. He immediately stood up, stepped down, and left. Stupid. Seeing Chen Shishi leave, Ling Yun sneered and ignored her. Li is also a senior. Along Chen Shishi's journey, students along the way have made way for her. How did it come down? I've been up there for almost half an hour now, and I've had enough of watching monkey shows. Chen Shishi responded with a smile. I originally planned to wait until the graduation ceremony to bid farewell to the senior, but I didn't expect the senior to personally come and see me off. This makes me feel very honored. The imperial capital gathers young talents from major cities, with strong individuals and heroes. There, you must let go of all obstacles and practice with all your might. I don't want to wait until one day when I go to Purple Gold City, you have already disappeared from the crowd, I believe you won't see this day. She looked around and her gaze fell on the students of the Oriental Academy who were whispering, seniorly, don't pay attention to these short-sighted people. I know. Li also nodded slightly, everyone has the right to express their opinions, and he will not be angry about it. If he really feels down, he will choose to respond with a sword and challenge them one by one until the other person is convinced. Now, he has such strength. This is the Li Yi senior whom I know, Chen Shishi continued, I really hope the senior can recover soon, and we will have the opportunity to fight happily in the future. Why wait until the future? You can do it now. Now. Chen Shishi was slightly stunned. That's the purpose of my trip. The gratitude owed. I have to pay it back. Qingming outing and happy reading. Charge 100 and get 500 VIP coupons. Immediate recharge, activity period. April 4th to April 6th. Chapter 8. Duel. You are listening at novel.Audio. Sword fighting platform is a place for students to exchange swordsmanship and make a showdown. In each college, there are multiple sword fighting platforms like this. Chen Shishi brought Li Yi to a slightly remote sword fighting platform. At this moment, no one is using it here, and there are only a few dozen or so students around. Obviously, this is to consider his face and avoid losing face in front of everyone. Li also does not agree with this. The two of them didn't say much and directly stepped onto the sword fighting platform. Chen Shishi held a slender sword and pointed it directly at Li Yi, saying, your meridians have been damaged, and your true qi cannot be transported. Even if there is still residual true qi from the triple peak of qi refining, the power it exerts is only one level. I will use the true qi from qi refining to determine the winner with you. Controlling true qi requires extremely high concentration, and with a slight distraction, it is difficult to achieve 70% of one's cultivation. Furthermore, if both sides have similar levels of true qi, how can a simple swordsmanship competition be enjoyable? Chen Shishi, let me see your true strength at this moment and give it your all. Li also slowly grasped his sword, his eyes suddenly becoming sharp as knives. Feeling the ethereal aura emanating from Li Yi, Chen Shishi's eyes lit up and his expression became solemn. Okay, then give it your all. As soon as the words fell, the true energy surged and rushed out in an instant. Shoo! Chen Shishi's long sword traced sharp paths in the air, and a cold light flashed in Li Yi's eyes. Chen Shishi's famous swordsmanship. 100-fold swordsmanship. Okay. Li Yi's thunder sound body refining technique was triggered in one fell swoop, combined with the flow of true qi, fully activating the blood in his body and making his heart beat vigorously. 9 turns and 10 twists, winding and winding, this is the essence of 100-fold swordsmanship. This swordsmanship is known for its mysterious and unpredictable trajectory, with each sword's movement moving like flowing water, making it difficult to grasp its patterns. Li Yi just broke free from Chen Shishi's swordsmanship lock, but her swordsmanship suddenly changed at this moment. The sword quickly turned and pierced through the void, approaching Li Yi directly. Shoo! Meteor piercing the moon. On one side of his body, he cleverly avoided Chen Shishi's most fierce sword strike. As she waited for her sword to change direction again, Li Yi's sharp sword had already shot out like a stream of light, accurately hitting the turning point of Chen Shishi's swordsmanship transformation. Chang! True Qi shock. With the advantage of the triple peak of qi refining, Chen Shishi uses airflow to surround the sword edge, effectively weakening the threat of Li Yi's sword moves. The originally disrupted sword moves instantly regenerate and change, pointing directly at Li Yi's eyebrows. However, just as her swordsmanship had not yet reached its peak, Li also swung his sword at a faster speed, triggering the explosive power in her swordsmanship in advance and causing the void to shake. The connection of true qi in Chen Shishi's poetry was briefly interrupted due to this sudden change. The old force has been exhausted, but the new force has not yet emerged. At this moment, Li Yili's sword struck again. Meteor piercing the moon. This sword is as fast as ever. Blocking off all the attacks that Chen Shishi was about to launch, forcing her to resist with a sword and quickly withdraw. Bang! The two swords intersect, and the flames shine brightly. Chen Shishi's whole body was shaken by the power of that sword and stumbled backwards. Li was also countered by the rich and genuine energy contained in Chen Shishi's sword, and his smooth attack rhythm was disrupted. Take me another sword. Chen Shishi's eyes flickered with a sharp light, and his face was full of excitement. She seized this gap and swordsmanship reappeared. 1,000 swords and 100 folds. With a single thrust of the sword, the light flickered and varied, as if there were dozens of sword techniques fused together, making it difficult to distinguish between true and false, making it dazzling. Good swordsmanship. Li Yi's mind is highly concentrated, his qi and blood boil, and his true qi moves at an extraordinary speed within his body. Cold moon meteor. Shoo. 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 The sharp sword in Li Yi's hand instantly transformed into 10 sword shadows, and at the same time, he launched an assassination attempt, encompassing Chen Shishi's dozens of changes. 10 swords against dozens seem unfair. However, Li Yi's 10 swords, each sword is real. The dozens of changes in Chen Shishi's poetry stem from the mystery of swordsmanship, like the water and moon in a mirror, unreal and unreal. At the peak of Li Yi's 10 swords in 1 second, Chen Shishi's swordsmanship changes were forced to reveal their true form and dissipate without a trace. Bang! 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 The continuous sound of collisions echoed, and sparks splashed in the void. Chen Shishi's swordsmanship was deciphered by Li Yi one by one. The world of swordsmanship, only fast and unbreakable. Amidst the chaos of swords, Li Yi's sharp sword easily broke through all the blockades of Chen Shishi's swordsmanship and ultimately hit her forehead with precision. The chill quickly permeated the brow of Chen Shishi. Ah! It's Chen Shishi's senior sister. At this moment, the dozen or so students around noticed the unusual situation on the sword fighting platform and immediately let out a cry of surprise. Isn't Chen Shishi currently attending the graduation ceremony? How could she suddenly appear on the sword fighting stage? And who exactly is the person fighting with her sword? In the entire Yicheng, besides the top experts Xia Homing, Ling Yun, and Yan Yuyu, who else can compete with her? I know him, Li Yi, the first swordsman of Yicheng University. Isn't he already damaged in his meridians and unable to cultivate? I didn't expect him to appear here and challenge Chen Shishi, the senior sister of the school. It's really beyond his ability. Is Chen Shishi's senior sister something he can challenge now? As these words fell, the students around them put down their tasks, stopped talking, and walked towards the sword fighting platform to watch. Is this river swordsmanship? Looking at Li Yi, whose forehead was sweating due to the stimulation of qi and blood, Chen Shishi's expression was somewhat bewildered. Meteor-piercing moon swordsmanship. Li also reported his swordsmanship and then said, I haven't practiced it for half a year. You have cultivated the 100-fold sword technique to the level of 1,000 swords and 100-fold sword. Chen Shishi's mind kept echoing the lightning-like scene just now, unable to recall for a long time. However, my sword moves were completely shattered by your cold moon meteor. Qingming outing and happy reading. Charge 100 and get 500 VIP coupons. Immediate recharge, activity period. April 4th to April 6th. Chapter 9. Inquiries. You are listening at novelfull.audio. At this moment, there was still a faint chill on her forehead, which was due to what Li Yijian had pointed out earlier. If your true qi is stronger, perhaps you only need to practice qi twice. In the competition just now, I'm afraid I couldn't even resist a sword. Speaking of this, Chen Shishi looked desolate and said, I used to think that after practicing 1,000 swords and 100 twists and turns, my swordsmanship cultivation was no longer below yours. However, the gap is getting farther and farther. Isn't that just right? You can continue to work hard and catch up with me. Continue to catch up. Upon hearing Li Yi's words, a hint of brilliance finally flashed in Chen Shishi's eyes. She was not defeated by Li Yi for the first time, but this time, Li Yi forced her to this extent with only one level of cultivation in qi refining. Even if she used 1,000 swords and 100 twists, she could not win in one battle, which made her feel a bit confused. After a brief buffer, she had regained consciousness and her gaze towards Li Yi was once again filled with fighting spirit. Senior Li Yi, I know that a little setback cannot defeat you. I believe that in Zijin City, you will not make me wait too long. Then you need to work hard to cultivate swordsmanship. I don't want the gap between us to widen when I go to Purple Gold City. Li also glanced at the increasing number of students from the Oriental College who were watching, and said, Can you enjoy this battle to the fullest? Chen Shishi was momentarily taken aback and then answered truthfully, Have fun. She thought of Li Yi's stunning 10 swords and added, To the fullest. Okay. Recalling that when I was reborn as Li Yi, I was seriously injured and had difficulty moving. Thanks to Chen Shishi's care and support, I was able to get through that difficult time. This is kindness. In today's battle, although he forcefully drew his sword and his blood was surging, he paid no attention and only wanted to fulfill Chen Shishi's wishes. Li Yi nodded slightly and said, The purpose of this trip has been achieved. You can continue to participate in the graduation ceremony. After speaking, he turned around and left. Walking calmly without breaking through, walking with clear winds and clear clouds. Chen Shishi looked at his gradually receding figure, and an inexplicable emotion surged in his heart. Li Yi in front of him, even though he was right in front of him, was like a banished immortal in the dust, possibly drifting away with the wind at any moment. Senior Li, take care. Take care. Li also waved his hand, but never turned back. The news of Chen Shishi and Li Yi's swordsmanship quickly spread to the graduation ceremony. For a moment, the crowd was in a frenzy, and curiosity drove them to rush towards the sword-fighting platform. In just a few minutes, the students had already walked through the bustling graduation ceremony, leaving only a few figures. This scene was captured by Ling Yun, Yun Ji, Zhang Yuan, and others, and they couldn't help but feel embarrassed. Originally, the 11 of them were supposed to be the focus of attention, but to their surprise, Li also emerged halfway and stole all the limelight, leaving them feeling extremely happy. I want to see with my own eyes how arrogant and domineering Li Yi, who has lost his true energy, can be in our Oriental Academy. Zhang Yuan finally couldn't hold back and stood up first. Chen Shishi once said, Even if Li loses his true energy, his swordsmanship alone can still leave me behind, but I don't think so. Yunji followed closely behind. As we're about to leave, why not watch a wonderful play? Ling Yun smiled and said. However, those who are familiar with him can sense that the senior's mood at this moment is quite bad. As Ling Yun stood up, others followed closely behind. Soon after, the group arrived at the sword-fighting stage where Li Yi and Chen Shishi competed. However, when they arrived at the scene, they did not find Li Yi's figure. Chen Shishi had already withdrawn her sword and was preparing to step down. This scene made the students present look at each other. Has this already ended? What about Li Yi? Did he lose to Chen Shishi's senior sister in an instant and leave in a hurry? We're actually late. Chen Shishi, a shining star of Yicheng, was admitted to Chongqing Academy, while Li Yi, despite losing the glory of being the first swordsman of Yicheng Academy, still maintains an undeniable influence. The duel between the two is undoubtedly a battle between dragons and tigers. However, I have not been able to witness this showdown at the moment, which has made many arriving students feel regretful. Chen Shishi, I don't know where Li Yi is. Did she lose the battle and escape the sword stage with shame because she couldn't take your 3 swords? Zhang Yuan saw that Chen Shishi was unharmed, but Li Yi was nowhere to be seen, so he thought he had guessed something and mocked him. It is truly regrettable that we were unable to witness the first swordsman of Yicheng University defeat Chen Shishi, who had achieved success in refining qi, with exquisite swordsmanship. Yunji also said with a somewhat sinister tone. I am curious about whether the Li Yi senior in Chen Shishi's heart has created any amazing miracles. Ling Yun had a smile on his face and a graceful demeanor. His current identity was that of a student at Lishan Sword Academy, and this elegance and achievement were enough to make countless young girls fall in love with him. Foolish beyond reach. Chen Shishi glanced at the crowd around her who were mocking her, said indifferently, turned around, and strode away. After witnessing Li Yi's outstanding demeanor, when she looked at the experts at Dongfang Academy who were on par with her, no matter how she looked at them, she felt inferior. You. Chen Shishi, you're too reckless. The smiles on the faces of Zhang Yuan and Yunji disappeared, replaced by a hint of coldness. Even Ling Yun, who had been keeping a smile, his eyes became cold. Do you think staying silent can cover up Li Yi's embarrassing fact? Several junior students have witnessed the entire battle with their own eyes. My next step is to publicize this battle, so that Li Yi will lose face due to his battle with you and have no place to stand in Yicheng anymore. Zhang Yuan glared fiercely at Chen Shishi, who had already left, intending to use this method to kill 2 birds with 1 arrow and retaliate against the 2. He waved to a junior who had previously watched the entire battle and said, Tang Ning, come over. Tell me, what was the outcome of the battle between Li Yi and Chen Shishi? How many moves did the so-called first swordsman of Yicheng Academy hold on to Chen Shishi's hand? 5 moves, or 3 moves? With Zhang Yuan's questioning, Yunji, Ling Yun, and the students around who wanted to know the truth all gathered around. Under the gaze of Zhang Yuan and many senior students, Tang Ning felt a sense of unease and confusion. As a result, it seems that Senior Li Yi has not been defeated. Qingming outing and happy reading. Charge 100 and get 500 VIP coupons. Immediate recharge, activity period. April 4th to April 6th. Chapter 10. Conclusion. You are listening at Novel Full.audio. What? You said Li was not defeated, what's going on? Yunji couldn't help but ask on the side. Tang Ning also regained his composure at this moment and nodded confidently, yes, Senior Li Yi did not lose. His swordsmanship was as fast as flowing light, and it was difficult for us to catch his gaze. But based on their conversation just now and what we saw with our own eyes, Senior Li Yi did not lose. That's right, Senior Li Yi's 10 swords are as fast as shooting stars. If it were a battle of life and death, Senior Chen Shishi would probably perish. The other student present couldn't help but interject. Li was not defeated either. How could this be possible? How could he have such strength? Tang Ning and 3 younger students revealed this fact, while Zhang Yuan, Yunji, and Ling Yun, who had always maintained the demeanor of a senior college student, couldn't help but show a look of shock. Li Yi, his true energy has been depleted. But he was still able to defeat Chen Shishi, who was stronger than Zhang Yuan and Yunji. This is simply unreasonable and unbelievable. Surprisingly, it's Li Yi, a senior with superior skills. Is it really fake? Without true qi, how could swordsmanship alone be so exquisite? I knew that if Senior Li Yi didn't have full confidence, how could he fight against Senior Chen Shishi? Unfortunately, due to the graduation ceremony, I missed the peak battle and was unable to witness Li Yi's superb swordsmanship with my own eyes. At the same time, other students also began to regret it, and some students couldn't help but scream in pain, regretting not witnessing this peak battle with their own eyes. These words reached the ears of Zhang Yuan, Yunji, Ling Yun, and others, making them feel extremely harsh. They used to mock Li, thinking he was superior, but they didn't expect his swordsmanship cultivation to be far above theirs. This is undoubtedly a satire and blow to their arrogance. Perhaps Chen Shishi deliberately made concessions in the sword competition, and she had already been flirting with Li. Who knows if she wanted to use this to help Li regain his reputation. Yunji was stimulated by this and felt jealous, with a hint of resentment in her words. I remember, it was Li Yichang's lightning-fast 10 swords that determined the outcome. If it weren't for Chen Shishi's reminder, I wouldn't even be able to see it clearly. At this moment, another junior suddenly interjected, his tone full of amazement. 10 swords. In just 1 second, 10 swords are stabbed. What a stunning swordsmanship. Some people even said that their practice of the Oriental Academy's fast sword. Floating white swordsmanship, although powerful, can only achieve 1/6 sword per second, while Li can also achieve 1/10 sword per second. 10 swords in 1 second, this unparalleled swordsmanship, I'm afraid I haven't seen his blade clearly yet, and I'm already in a different position. The words of the younger student made the students present exclaim again. As students of the Oriental Academy, they naturally understand what 10 swords in 1 second means. Such swordsmanship is probably unbeatable in our Oriental Academy. Some students recalled Yunji's slander against Chen Shishi, so they glanced at her and said somewhat disdainfully. When did the weak dare to mock the strong? That's not necessarily the case. Maybe someone can catch these 10 swords. After all, there are many elite students in our college who have been admitted to higher education institutions. Someone immediately joined in. Compared to Li Yi and Chen Shishi, Zhang Yuan, Yun Ji, Ling Yun, and others are like jumping clowns at this moment. Although they both belong to the same college, these young and energetic students have begun to feel disrespectful towards their behavior. Face up. Unleashed slapping. For a moment, Yunji's face turned red and extremely embarrassed, hoping that there would be a crack on the ground for her to penetrate. At the same time, Zhang Yuan, Ling Yun, and others fell silent. Li Yi, surprisingly, there is such swordsmanship. Ling Yun's face became unusually ugly. 10 swords in 1 second. They asked themselves, can't take it anymore. There will never be more than 3 people in Yicheng who can take on such a fast sword. Faced with mocking gazes from all sides, they could no longer maintain their previous sense of superiority and could only flee the scene in disappointment. Day swordsmanship, snow-falling phantom body, Qianyuan sword finger, and 6 layers of the Hua Shui remnants classic. Li also sorted out these swordsmanship, body techniques, and finger techniques one by one in the room. There have been discussions outside about his battle with Chen Shishi, but he remains calm and focused on his own cultivation. Meteor-piercing moon sword technique, thunder sound body refining technique, 3 clear E sword technique, and square inch technique. These are his own swordsmanship, body movements, and footwork practices. Meteor-piercing the moon, growing with speed, Sanqing Yi's swordsmanship is unpredictable, transforming Sanqing with 1 sword. The Fangsuan technique has reached its peak in a small range of movements. For the swordsmanship of Shuelua Mountain Villa, he had his own judgment in his heart. Although Day swordsmanship is superior, it is not as good as shooting stars to stab the moon, or as good as playing Sanqing sword. Abandon it. The snow-falling phantom body and the great river swordsmanship complement each other, but in terms of dodging and moving within a square inch, it is far inferior to the square inch technique and is also abandoned. The Qianyuan sword finger, using the finger as the sword, can harm people within a short distance, which has its merit 6 layers of snow-melting residual meridians. It corresponds to the practitioner's 6 levels of energy refining. It is the method of refining qi. In the ancient times of Blue Star, there were immortals who roamed the blue and dark, between the void. Since the end of the Dharma era, the method of cultivating immortals has disappeared from the world, and sword immortals and demons have become legends. The thunder sound body refining technique is refined to the extreme, generating internal strength and can be considered as the Blue Star's essence refining technique. At present, this world is full of vitality, which can be refined and transformed into qi through the thunder sound body refining technique. In a moment, Li also landed at the true core of his cultivation on earth. The Tai Shang Sword Classic. This is his own refined swordsmanship, derived from the essence of many ancient sword immortals practicing swordsmanship. However, due to the end of the Blue Star era, this swordsmanship is no longer able to reproduce the countless mysteries and supernatural powers of the past. Although a series of small magical swordsmanship techniques such as meteor-piercing moon sword and Sanqingyi sword have emerged, what is truly precious is the cultivation method of the sword realm summarized above. Lift lightly as if heavy, lift lightly as if heavy, combine people and swords, gather momentum with swords. Li Yi, who has been practicing swordsmanship for 11 years, has reached a state of lightness and weightlessness. From 100 meters away, no spear or arrow can harm him. However, in the battle with Chen Shishi, due to the imperfect integration of spirit and physical body, the mysterious aspect of lifting weights lightly was not fully realized. Otherwise, the difference in true qi between the first and third levels of qi refining is not enough to stimulate qi and blood. Therefore, Li Yi's next focus of cultivation is not on refining qi to return to reality, but on refining the physical body, achieving the resonance of spirit and qi, connecting essence and qi, and integrating spirit and flesh. He needs to thoroughly refine his spirit and physical body into one, regardless of each other, and his spirit resonates with each other before he can start the next step of cultivation. Not practicing the Great River swordsmanship, not practicing the snow-falling phantom body, not practicing the Qianyuan sword finger, even if it is the 6 layers of the snow-melting classic, it will be forgotten in the future. Shuelu, a mountain villa, abandoned him. It is the conclusion of cause and effect. Once it's over, he needs to erase all traces and start over. Qingming outing and happy reading. Charge 100 and get 500 VIP coupons. Immediate recharge, activity period. April 4th to April 6th.